Hold on a minute. This is the movie people were calling a non-consensual ass-fisting of cinema back in April? This one? Really? I mean, it's not especially good, but it's really not that much worse than the last movie, which was also just kind of mid. If you have kids, like sort of young kids, it won't bore them to tears, but it also won't give them brain damage either. It's perfectly fine. It's fine. My thoughts on the drama can best be summed up by the expression I had throughout most of the second half. But like, in a good way. I'm kind of surprised that a comedy centered around one of the biggest touchy subjects in American culture got such big names attached, but I'm not complaining. I've said before, I'm not a huge Zendaya fan, but this is one of my favorite performances from hers. I'm also really glad the general consensus around this is that Alana Haim's character is the real villain. This is the kind of movie you'd make when you remember that there are no real rules, and also you have a brain losing its battle with ADHD badly. Really dumb, but in a way I can appreciate. Still not nearly as funny as Nirvana the band. Bob Odenkirk has become one of those actors I always keep an eye out for. But really, him and Henry Winkler are the only things keeping Cold Fuzz here from being completely forgettable. Hokum is pretty predictable mostly, and it does take quite a while to get going. But once it does, it's a great time. Damon McCarthy is one of the better new horror directors we've gotten. He can make just about anything look terrifying. I can forgive a slow burn as long as the payoff is solid, and this is a great example of that. So at this point, I think it's safe to say Samara Weaving has in her contract to never be married to a well-adjusted person. That's really her entire filmography. Scream and be married to crazy people. Jokes aside, this is a pretty solid dark comedy, and it's great to see Jason Segel back in movies. My favorite scene has got to be one where Weaving and Segel try to out-grief act each other. It's some hilarious improv. I went in expecting an R-rated version of the 95 movie, and honestly, that is kind of what I got. Better than the 21 movie? Yeah, sure. But except for the script, which is somehow way worse. Carl Urban is good, just not Johnny Cage. Kano remains the MVP. And if you think Joe Taslim was wasted in this movie, there's another down the line that more than makes up for that. I don't really like talking about highly discussed movies because there's not usually a lot I can add, but I will say Obsession is the perfect first date movie if you don't want there to be a second date. Or if you have a certain type, you do. Indy Neverready deserves all the praise she's getting for this. She's genuinely fantastic here. What I don't get is how insistent some people are on saying this movie isn't funny. Like, if you watch the phone call scene or the $1 billion scene, I'm gonna assume you're not the target demographic. If your sense of humor is as twisted as mine, though, you'll laugh your ass off. I was quite looking forward to this because Boots Riley's last movie, Sorry to Bother You, is legitimately one of the craziest movies I've ever seen in my life. And while this movie doesn't quite hit that level of left turns, it's still a great time. It's just so hilarious, visually creative, great message. Keke Palmer is great in the lead, but Will Poulter was the real scene stealer. I really wanted more of his character. But seriously though, watch Sorry to Bother You, it is wild. Hey, did you know this director was only 20 years old? Did you? Did you know he was only 20? Did you? You fat fucking fossil! Okay, enough of that. Now I find liminal spaces a really interesting concept. These oddly familiar areas you feel like you don't belong. Turns out, when you take an interesting concept and actually utilize it in a creative way, you get a really cool movie. Yeah, Backrooms is a great time, if maybe just a tiny bit overhyped. When I heard that this guy wants to do an adaptation of Portal, all I can really say to that is, Yes! Yes! Hey, you remember that Adult Swim short, Too Many Cooks? This is the same vein as that, but stretched out to 80 minutes. A series of commercials that tells about an alien entity taking control of a town through a restaurant chain. It's hard to give a concise score to this because it is so experimental, but if you're into that sort of thing, I'd say it's worth checking out. Okay, now we're talking. This is the kind of raw, relentless fuck-em-up action films I live for. Featuring not one, but two of the Raid guys. You know, the guys who, once they set foot on camera, you know people are not going to be walking away with all their insides where they should be. Not only are the fight scenes some of the best of the whole decade, but there's so much variety and creativity put into them that at one point they just start hurling bikes at each other, and it's amazing. I know everyone's gushing over Obsession, But really, this is my favorite movie of 2026 so far. I really hope it gets a big following. Disclosure Day is lacking a bit in the script department, and the third act is kind of underwhelming for me. But Steven Spielberg still has yet to find a reflective surface he couldn't shoot the absolute fuck out of. There are a couple scenes that look a little janky, but most of it is still top-notch directing. If you told me going into this that one of the best performances would come from a newscaster in the last 10 minutes, I'd probably just be confused. Somehow that is the case. What can I say except Hunk still got it. Mostly. For the last Jackass movie, I was hoping for a little bit more than a clip show with just a handful of new stunts, but the new stuff we get are pretty solid, if not completely disgusting. Every scene involving the robot had me laughing hard. I'm kinda sad to see this series go, but I can barely imagine doing any of this now, let alone when I'm fucking 50.